Hey, what's up guys? So today's video we're going to be working on the Dodge Dakota RT again. So we covered a lot of stuff in the last video, but in this video we're still going to be under the hood. I still have to do spark plugs, wires, and distributor cap. I think we're probably going to leave the wires on there, the old ones. I might put on the new distributor cap, but we got some stuff, and I also have some stuff that's still about to show up, the grommets for the valve covers. So hopefully that shows up while we're filming this and we can get that done as well. But before we get started on this, we have a guest that stopped by. This is Chris with Fly Ride.
What's going on, guys?
So he does, you tell them actually, you do a lot of automotive lighting.
Yeah, so I do all of the like really scary wiring stuff where we take headlights apart, taillights apart, do custom wiring and like all the color changing stuff, rock lights, things like that. That's why I'm here, so that we can actually do some really cool projects together, share with you guys, and dive into the 12 volt side of stuff.
Yeah, so we'll link in the description below his channel as well, but we were actually just test fitting and kind of experimenting almost with some lighting that he just received. You guys will be able to check that content out on his channel soon to come, but we're kind of messing with these new, it's a new thing, right?
Yeah,
like the projection lights.
LED projector, yeah.
Yeah, so he's way more, you know, techie about it than I am, but we had controllers on this thing where it would go to the sound, you could change the color of it, and you could project different images. So it's pretty cool stuff, but you'll have to check that out on his channel. All right, you guys, so Chris took off. It's a little bit later in the day. I had to wait for the heat to kind of die down, and we have a lot to cover in a short period of time because we're gonna be going live soon on the channel as well, but let's get straight into it. So I wanna put the plugs in. These did show up as well, and this is those grommets for the valve cover that I was looking for, so I'll link it in the description below, but it does say Mopar performance parts. I don't know if this is any different, but regardless, these are the ones that we need. So this is them. So I'll just quickly show you. I only ordered one set and they come as a pair, but I'm gonna have to order another one as long as these are the right ones. So these ones, if you guys remember the ones from before, look at how soft these ones are. These are really malleable. If I grab the old ones, they're like hard as a rock. Like listen, like you can hear them. And these are nice and soft. I know it's not a true authentic test, but trust me when I say you can't even squeeze these or squish these, whereas this one is super soft. So this one is supposed to go here. So this one's gonna be solid, a plug. So look at how tight those fit. So we should have a good seal. The smaller one that I have here is supposed to go over here in the back for the PCV. So that one, it also feels very good. Yeah, so look at how, hopefully you guys can see that, like it's nice and snug in there, and so is this one. So that's the stuff we need, and then I need one more of these ones, and we'll have to cut off the bottom because that's gonna go over here, and then our oil fill cap will go there. So I need to order one more set of these, unfortunately, even though I won't need the last one. So I'll get those coming, and again, I'll link these in case you guys ever need to find these. I'll link the part number in the description below so you guys can check that out. Other thing we're gonna be doing in today's video, changing the plugs, changing the distributor cap because this one is roasted. So we're gonna put the new cap on, new spark plugs in, and then we'll put the wires on as well. And hopefully we can fire this thing up. Also, just interesting, somebody was asking if I might possibly have a performance ECU in this thing, and I took a look and it looks like I do. So if you'll notice here, here's some little bit of a clue. See how this clip is busted off? Somebody obviously had this off before, but it's not the actual latch, so we're still okay. It's just the outside of it. But the part number on it, and I googled it, I don't know if you guys can see this. Let me see if I can get you guys in here. So see that? Probably can't see it. Anyways, the part number on there is a P05007-107. So that is actually a part number, maybe you can see it there, but it's a part number for Mopar Performance ECU. So I guess it raises the RPM and some shift points. So not that it's gonna get a whole lot more power, but it has a tiny bit more once we get it running right. So that's kind of a free bonus. We're gonna tune the thing eventually, so it won't really matter what performance ECU we have in here, but it's a freebie at least. So some guys were joking around about whether we had some 1.7 roller rockers in here. Obviously we didn't when we changed the valve cover gaskets, but that's about it. So let's get cracking on this. I leveled the truck back out. So if you watched the last video, we fixed a transmission fluid leak. And yeah, we'll have to top it up with transmission fluid once we get it running in neutral and all that good stuff. So we got a lot to do. We'll see how much we get done. Let's go. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and remove the plugs. Really not a whole lot to see here. If you guys haven't seen this tool, I'll link it in the description below as well. I use this on the Hemi and it just makes life a lot easier. It's magnetic and also has this awesome swivel joint on it, so it makes getting into here a lot easier. So it doesn't so much matter on this application, but it still makes it a little bit easier. On the Hemi, you definitely wanna have these. So I already had the first plug out, because I wanted to see what it was before I knew what plugs or what the conditions were in. So the first plug's already been removed, so I'm just gonna go ahead and remove the rest of the remaining 3 on this bank, and then we'll go to the other side, remove all those as well, and start putting the new plugs in, which a lot of people are a little bit upset with me on the plug choice, but again, I wanna try them, I wanna test them. It's a newer technology plug. Had good luck with them in my Hemi, supercharged Hemi. So I'm gonna do that as well, but these plugs that are in here are roasted. These autolite ones, they've definitely seen their day. And in case you guys don't remember, these are the ones that are gonna go in. So we're gonna put these iridium ones in. Well, maybe you guys might wanna see how it works for me before you go ahead and check these out, but there's the part number. I'll link them in the description below if you're interested in them, but I'll give you guys a full review on these afterwards since everybody thinks that they might not work, or at least some people do, but they're going in. So I'll go ahead and drop in the new plugs. They are pre-gapped from the factory. Another myth is that you have to put anti-seize on this. If you guys don't believe me, go ahead and just Google search, or I'll also link this in the description below. Search Ngk Anti-Seize. There's a whole article on it on why you shouldn't run anti-seize. You can actually strip your spark plug threads. Maybe not so much in a steel head, but they actually put a coating on this to prevent any sort of seizing, so just beware that. I know most of the times it's on steel plugs and aluminum heads, but regardless, you don't want to put anything on these. Just go ahead and fire them in. They have a coating on them, the newer plugs such as these. Again, newer technology, newer things. Don't take my word for it. Check it out. So I'm gonna fire these 4 in. You can also gap these, I think I started to say. But for our application, it should be fine, just naturally aspirated. If we start getting into boost and stuff, then we can, or even nitrous or any of that stuff, we'll start changing the gaps. But for now, this should be much of an improvement. We'll just put them in. All right, so passenger side plugs, all 4 of them are in and tight. You guys can probably look up a torque setting for this if you really wanted to. But if you guys kind of know me by now, I do like to go by feel on a lot of things, and not because I'm being lazy. It's just I've wrenched on so many things that I've become accustomed to it, and it's just kind of the way I like to do stuff. I don't recommend that by any means, but if you guys notice, when you go to put plugs in, you put them in hand tight. Once you kind of get them snugged up is when you can incorporate or start using a ratchet. And they have a little compression gasket on them, kind of like a crush washer. And you'll seem like when you tighten them, you'll feel them kind of get snug, and then all of a sudden it'll just stop. And I'm not talking like standing on the end of this handle like crazy, but if you're just grabbing it like here, like this, you'll feel them just stop. Like it'll get tight and then it'll just stop. That's where you want to stop. That's where a torque spec would come into play. That's where it's tight. And I just know that from putting a million plugs in over pretty much, I don't know how many years, but I've just put a million plugs in at this point. And that's when you just stop. You're good, you're done. It's when people start standing on the end of this and giving it that extra little crank for whatever reason that things go wrong. Not so much on steel heads. I mean, they are still susceptible to it, but on steel head, a little bit less risk. It's more aluminum that you would really run into some issues, but enough of that. Let's move on to the driver's side. Here we are on the driver's side. So same deal, remove all 4 and then we'll put the 4 new ones in. Also, you guys may have seen me use this longer extension. If you guys watched the valve cover video, I do like to sometimes use a longer extension where I can. I mean, you could sit there and get your hand way down in there, but you're getting maybe a quarter turn. If you use something like this with the swivel and then put this extension on the end of it like this, then all of a sudden I can get the ratchet out here and I can use a lot more range of motion up here. So let's take these out. And new plugs going in. And check out the old plugs, you guys. These are just roasted. Definitely good for a change. One other thing I did want to mention too is I did blow out these boots, these kind of heat shields that go around where the spark plugs go. So I did blow those out prior to removing them, which you do want to do so no dirt falls in there. But yeah, another person was also mentioning about removing them. But I'm probably going to remove them when I do headers. So we will be changing this out because we have an exhaust leak here anyways. So for now, I'm just going to leave them because I don't have, there's actually like kind of booties that they call them, where they're like heat shields that you can get, like kind of socks, so that you don't burn your wires. So I don't want to remove them just yet, potentially burn what wires I do have. So we'll leave them on. When we do the headers, we'll redo it all nice, put those kind of boots on there, those heat shield boots, and go from there. But yeah, glad we're taking these stupid things out. All right, so I'm probably gonna do this in a separate video for you guys, just straight from the get-go, like with everything attached, show you exactly how to remove it, because I have a feeling we're gonna be changing these wires. So I'll go through it in more depth, but we can do a quick kind of run through on what we're gonna do. So this is the old cap. I think the rotor's still on there, I can't remember, but the distributor is back here. So the distributor is back there. I don't know if you guys can just barely see it. It's right here. I'm touching the tip of it with my hand. I've already popped off the rotor, and there's kind of only one way it goes on there, to be honest, because there's a notch on one side, and I'll show you where that notch lines up with. So if you look at what our rotor looks like, hopefully you can see that. See that notch? We go into the light, boom. See that little notch right there? There's only one way that rotor can go on. So we're gonna put that on with the notch, and it's gonna slide onto there. So that will be our rotor, and then our cap is gonna go on like this with the number 1. You'll see a little number 1 right here. So that number 1 is going to be there. So it's essentially gonna go on like this. And these 2 screws can only go on that one way. So we'll put that on. If we were removing the whole distributor, it'd kind of get into another story, but since it's just like this, we'll do this, and then I'll show you which wire goes to what. Obviously this is cylinder 1, and I'll show you guys a diagram, but it's gonna go clockwise from cylinder 1 all the way around. So let me get this on here, and then we'll worry about the wires. All right, so I'm gonna yank off the wires on here. They're already numbered. They have these small little numbers already on it. So for the most part, I don't have to worry too much about that, but I'm at least going to, since we're reusing these wires, I'll keep the ones that are on the passenger side, and the ones that are on the driver's side, on the driver's side. Pretty straightforward. So anyways, we'll leave those there. I can discard this old cap. This is the old one. Put it off to the side. And then the new cap, which is here, I'll show you the old rotor, which apparently I thought it was a good idea to leave it down there. This is the old rotor, and it is just burnt out. So it's looking pretty crusty compared to the new one. So old rotor, new rotor, put that off to the side, and we'll put this on. So hopefully you guys can see that. So there we go, new rotor's on. And we should be just about ready to put our cap on. So here's our cap. You'll notice you can't fit it in here, so you kind of have to do this shimmy through the side area over here so that you can get it in there and over to where you want it. And like I was mentioning, cylinder 1, you want it to be over here, so kind of off to the passenger side. And there's 2 bolts on this. It only kind of goes one way. Well, it could go either way, but you want to make sure that once you line everything up, that cylinder 1 is near the passenger side. And you're gonna have to deal with this little plastic plate too that has a sensor on it. So you're gonna wanna make sure, if you guys can see that it's seated. Because mine is wanting to walk around a little bit. There we go. So it's seated. Now we can use a Phillips screwdriver or an 8mm. Doesn't have to be crazy tight, you're only tightening plastic down, so You want it to be snug. You obviously don't want it to come off, but don't go crazy on this and snap it or something silly. All right, so the cap and rotor is in, it's tight. Those two screws are tight. And like I said, you'll see this black dot off to here, and number 1 cylinder is gonna be here. There's a little number 1 on the cap. Like I was showing you guys, most caps should have a number 1 right there, so you can reference that. Let me show you guys what the firing order is now. So just before I show you guys the actual diagram, if you look on the intake manifold, you'll see a bunch of numbers. So you can see 2, 4, and if I show you guys in the back, you see 6 and 8 as well. So on the other side as well, the numbers are there too, so you can reference and know which cylinder is what. And let me show you the diagram as well that clarifies which cylinder is which and where it has to go on the distributor. So here you guys go. You can do a quick Google search, or I'll link this in the description below. What you're gonna do is, this is your engine. Obviously that says front of vehicle. Number 1 is there. You work your way clockwise around to get all your 8, and you see which cylinder is what. 8, 6, 4, 2, 1, 3, 5, 7. Pretty straightforward. If you guys get lost, follow this. But we're gonna go ahead and connect the wires according to this. Again, your wires are gonna be different lengths. Mine are used wires, so we're just gonna be putting them back where they were. But once we get a new set of wires on here, I'll be doing this again with you guys, and we'll go through it from A to Z. Probably should have done this a long time ago so that we could all see. All right, look at that. Now you guys can see everything. As long as I'm not in the shadow of this bright snap-on LED light, we should be good. So what I'm doing right now is, this was the way that the wires were. So driver's side was here, passenger side was there was 4 here, 4 there. Well, actually there's 5 on this side because one of them went to the coil pack, which was this one, but that one was obvious. But I'm looking at the numbers that are on here, and I kind of just ripped everything off because this truck was just in shambles, so I really didn't pay too much attention. I knew it wasn't running good, but I'm really wondering how mixed up the firing order may have been originally, because none of these numbers correspond properly to where they should be. So if you look at the driver's side, it's all odd numbers, so 1, 3, 5, and 7. But the numbers that are on these wires are nothing of the sort. So I have 8 here, but I have 7 on this side, and I promise you guys I didn't take them off the wrong spot, but for some reason this wire is over here. And just to confirm that, if all even numbers are supposed to be over there, which one did I have? This is number 4. So there's no way that we are going from the 2nd cylinder on this side all the way around and to there. This wire was on this side, put on one of these cylinders. So who really knows whether this was accurate or not? So I have to play with the lengths on the wires and try to figure out which length goes to where, and disregard all these numbers that are on here, these tags. So these pop off, but you would assume that somebody that put them on, you know, either knew what they were doing. Well, I guess we can't assume they knew what they're doing, but you would think that they would put it on the one that they put it on. But if they truly put it on that, then this firing order was out to lunch from the get-go. So let me sort through all this stuff. I'm gonna put them all on, measure out the wires, put them where they need to go, and I'll put my little tags on it for now. I know we're probably gonna replace these, but might as well keep everything straight and organized, and we'll get it done. Here's just another example. Here's number 3. Look at how short it is. If we were to go from cylinder 3, there's no way we're making it around the back of that distributor. So I don't know why they ever put a number 3 on it, but it's gonna have to be used on one of these cylinders, probably 5 or 7 between the two of them. I've just been measuring them out and kind of going length by length and putting which one in fits. All right, so all of our wires are on. I've relabeled them for the most part, even though they're gonna get removed. I got my coil wire on also. I still have to put the cruise control module back on, so I'm gonna do that. That's very straightforward though. It's just a couple of bolts. I gotta put my PCV valve back into this grommet here. So we'll get that done, and I still have to I'm waiting for one more on this side, but we can still probably start it. One thing I do want to point out though, if you guys can see in there, so see how I have a plate here? There's some people commenting about my valve cover not having a baffle. So it does have a baffle albeit it's a small one. But either way, we'll probably end up running a catch can if we run into some issues. The way it was set up previously, there really wasn't any oil in the intake manifold, because I did look inside and there's really nothing out of the ordinary in there. So I don't think it'll be an issue, but it does have a baffle in it, so it's not just going to be sitting there, you know, sucking up oil through the intake. So that's that. I do want to clean this intake so that we can get this thing started next little while, I hope. I don't know if it'll be tomorrow or hopefully tonight, but I want to at least clean this, give it a rinse so it has good time to dry while we finish up. So let me give this a rinse and we'll continue over here. I'm gonna wash it. I'll just be using the Ngk recharger kit. They just have that spray bottle in there. You just kind of soak the whole thing, let it sit for a few minutes and rinse it off. It removes all the oil and the dirt at the same time, and then we'll let it air dry. Okay, you guys, so other than the intake, I don't think there's any reason why we can't start this and see what it sounds like. We do still have an exhaust leak over there, so it's not gonna sound pretty just yet, but it should sound a little bit better. We still have to top up the transmission fluid, but just a quick startup should be okay. It does still have fluid and it's not completely empty by any means. So let's go ahead and try it. Only thing, just side note, because I'm not going to let it run forever, but we do still need this. This grommet's coming in a couple days. I already ordered it because, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, wasn't sure if they're going to fit, and they only comes in packs of 2. So we got one more of those coming, but we have the PCV valve hooked up over there. We got this one plugged. Yeah, the intake doesn't have to be on. There's no sensors in it on this old school engine. So yeah, I mean, we're not going to suck in any dirt. Everything's free and clear. So let's go ahead and see what she sounds like, guys. This is plugs, cap, rotor. Feels like a new truck inside here. It's even clean. All right, so moment of truth. Still an exhaust tick, but it's idling pretty smooth. It sounds beastly too. It has quite a bit of throttle response compared to before. I'm just like dabbing it too. I'm not going crazy. I don't want to rev the crap out of it, but yeah, you guys should be able to see the needle. There's some LEDs, or not LEDs on this, but some bulbs in the back that we'll have to change at some point. But somebody changed them out to blue and it looks like one burnt out there. Oh, she sounds angry, you guys. This is gonna be cool. Well, we'll see. We still gotta top up the transmission fluid and some other stuff, but sounds good. Sounds like we did a good job on the plugs and wires and cap and rotor. Here's a summary of the parts that we replaced today. So we replaced all these plugs and they were definitely due, I would say that much. So I know the exterior, you know, that can get deteriorated with the inside, but they're pretty roasted looking at the same time. So definitely was due for some plugs. Now with some better light, you guys can probably see this rotor has, I don't know what kind of mileage is on it, but it's definitely been in there for a while. I almost wanted to say this was an AutoZone one, but it looks slightly different, so I don't really know what brand this is. Not that this is a good indicator, but this cap looks different and this number 1 is much larger, so I don't see any part number stamped on the whole thing. But yeah, inside the contacts, you guys can probably see, are all burnt. So that was that. That was the cap and rotor that we replaced. These are the plugs that we replaced it with. And over here, you guys will be upset that it's not a 10mm socket. If you guys watched the previous videos, you'll notice that we found this socket, this 1/2-inch socket, somebody decided to sacrifice to make this bolt the right length. So I went and picked up a bolt that's the correct length for our intake. So I can get rid of this bolt with the 1/2-inch socket. I can retire it. All right, you guys, so that's it for this video. All that's left for the truck at the moment, so that it could actually move around, is to top up the transmission fluid. But I gotta run to the store, get some ATF4 for this thing, because I don't have any on hand. We'll top it up, no big deal. You guys know it's just a dipstick. We'll check the fluid and we'll be good to go. But right now, it's actually the next day, and I'm about to start on the power steering rack. So you guys are gonna have to wait till the next video to see that, but that's what we're up to. So I'm trying to get the power steering rack done today so that we can get to the fun stuff like the headlights tomorrow. Anyways, guys, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button, turn on your post notifications if you're stopping in for the first time. Check out the other videos on the channel. See you on the next one.